Excellent.
Whenever you're ready.
Mhm. One of those trees.
Hi, and welcome to Kevin Key's Patreon live stream. My name is Joey, and I'm joined with Charles Levi and Joe Average. We have a show called Industrial Amputation, where we interview artists in the industrial and post-punk scene, though we don't stay genre specific because we're about supporting artists. We're changing things up today, and we'll be interviewing Kevin, so I hope you enjoy. From being a teenage fan in the mid-90s, I always dreamed of being a music journalist. Now here I am, years later, interviewing my favorite musician and dear friend. The footprint
Aw.
Kevin has laid upon electronic music is undeniable. His musical contributions have gone on to inspire so many, and I hate to think of a world without him. He's in Skinny Puppy, Download, Images in Vogue, Hilt, Doubting Thomas, Plateau, Tear Garden, Cyberactive, in addition to creating a myriad of groundbreaking solo releases. He's a lover of animals, creator of subconscious communications, just an overall badass. Ladies and gentlemen, we are beyond elated to welcome Mr. Kevin Key. Kev.
Thank you,
Wow,
Kevin.
thanks, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you on the industrial amputation. What you would call it, hijack chat.
Flipping the script.
Yeah.
But Kevin, you've had your Patreon going for 7 years now. The content you've been providing is amazing. What are some of the most rewarding aspects of all this?
Probably that it was a surprise. Like first started doing it just for something to do to see, what might happen, and what has been remarkable about it is the sense of community that has come about as a result of it all. I have met so many friends now through this. I think Joey, even you and I, and everyone included, we've gotten to know each other,
Mhm.
and then also I've also met musical partners through this. So in the creation of new projects such as Neko Face, that we did the score for Silent Hill. I met Eric right here on with the interaction of the Subcon Patreon remixes,
Yeah.
and that's been mind blowing as well. It blows me away how many talented people there are that tune into the chat and are partaking by way of the remixes, and on all other levels. Like there's people that I'm learning about as a result of them being on the chat weekly and getting to know. It's really opened up an avenue that I thought like wasn't going to be possible before, and the 7 years has just ripped by, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Um, Levi, number two?
Yeah. So,
Hi, Charles.
hi, man. How you doing?
Good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you, man.
I love that
Good.
smile of yours.
Yeah.
Thanks. I'm all cheese. Uh, so now that you starting with the when you get into shows and the clubs, what kind of music did you grow up with? You know?
Oh, good question. I love that. Of course, I'm Canadian, so
Yeah.
early exposures in high school were you either were into Kiss or Rush,
Yeah, right.
and I liked both bands.
Yeah.
So what's amazing is that Rush, of course, being Canadian, we saw them quite a bit, even
Yeah.
as an opening band, if you can believe that.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
I
Yeah,
remember
and
that.
I
Man.
even caught one of Neil Peart's spinning drum kit sticks that he would throw out.
Oh,
So I had like this really, like early rapport going with their music, and then it wasn't like I started getting into, Genesis and all the rest of the prog stuff, of course.
hmm
Yeah.
And then thankfully, I will say thankfully because I didn't see it coming, but my dad sent me on. He said, "By the way, how would you feel about going to Japan this summer?" And this is in 1978.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, that sounds like a good idea." And then I didn't think much of it. And then about a month later, he came to me and he said, "Oh, guess what? You're going to Japan this summer."
Wow.
Then I started to really get scared because I was 17.
Yeah.
And of course, a 17-year-old, when summer comes along, that's the last thing you want to be told
Yeah.
as you're being sent away somewhere, especially to a place I had no knowledge of.
Right, right.
And also I was being told you're going to be going and living with families for
Wow.
2 months, 1 month of each family. And I thought, okay, well, as it came closer and closer, I became ever more terrified. And I remember I went over there and I literally cried my first couple of nights there because I was just so, I didn't even know how to do it. I
Yeah.
thought like, I don't, this is like, I was afraid to come out of the room they'd put me in the parents' house.
Yeah,
I was terrified because no
Yeah.
one spoke English or anything.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing that was great about it is that they had like 3 TVs in the house. Quite often they were all on. And on one particular night, I saw this band and I was like, oh, great, there's music. And I was like, went and looked, and it was Yellow Magic Orchestra.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought like, this is incredible because they had like the drummer was a singer and like they had synthesizers all around them. And I thought like, wait, this is mind blowing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
from that point on, I wanted to check them out and more and realized there was this whole new sort of style of music.
Yeah.
And then when I got back, one of my friends took me to this club in Vancouver, which was kind of becoming famous, which was called the Love Affair.
Yeah.
And the Love Affair was kind of famous for at the time being the place where you would first go and hear Fad Gadget, Cabaret Voltaire, Joy Division.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever heard any of this music, and this would have been about 1979.
Yeah.
And that brought together so many people, like as far as like, that's where I first met, sort of hanging out with Bill Lieb
Mm-hmm.
and started hanging out with Stephen Gilmore and Gary Smith and the guys in Images in Vogue. That quickly came together. I don't even know how that happened because I didn't really have any intentions of being in a band.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden, I did play the drums and was in punk bands, but I was not like interested in being in a band.
Yeah.
So these guys came along and they were super serious, and it was right at the beginning of New Wave, essentially,
Yeah.
1980, and we just started rehearsing, and before I knew it, these guys, everything that I was learning from these guys was synthesizers, drum machines, electronics, and being able to mix like everything that I'd been inspired by, I guess, up to that point into this new outlet.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing time period because we would always have to go to that club just to hear what music was being played. So I thought like, wait, I'm going to get a job at this club because I kept on running to the DJ booth and I was saying, well, wait, what's this song? What's this song? And I just felt embarrassed like running in there every 5 minutes. So I got a job as the light man so I could stand next to the DJ and I could just look over and see what all these songs were.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Built up the rapport of like what all these songs were. And yeah, it was a rad club.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing and life-changing. So luckily with that and Images in Vogue and the whole thing, that went on for quite some time before, Bill and I and Gary Smith, we started hanging out. And one night Bill said, come back to my place. I want to play you some music. And that was a life-changing event, let me tell you.
And history was made.
Bill knew everything about Throbbing Gristle and Cabaret Voltaire and all these bands that basically I had never heard of again at this point. And I luckily, it was like kind of like running up to the DJ again. It was like, wait, who's this? Who's this? Who's this? And Bill the whole night long he made me a cassette tape that I still have to this day. I think I posted it on the Patreon.
Yeah, you posted it, yeah.
And it just was like a whole new bunch of names, like, Thomas Lear, Robert Rental, Grauzone, Second Lair, Chris and Cozy, Cabaret Voltaire, Liaisons Dangereux, like all these things that I'd never heard of before. And then again, I was realizing my life was being changed.
Yeah.
So I was in this band that was quite commercial, and Bill was like kind of like prompting me. Well, after that, every weekend we had parties where that's all we did is listen to like the most intense music.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd throw in some YMO from time to time, and
Yeah.
it's really funny. And and then so before I knew it, like, there was some equipment at the party because it was Gary and my department from Images and Vogue, so there was some equipment there.
Yeah.
So while all this party was going on one night, I decided I was going to set up some equipment just for fun. It was a TR-606 and a Pro 1.
Oh,
And I hooked it into a guitar amp. It was just jamming in the corner, and everyone was all like, "Oh man, that's cool," and everything. I was like, "Oh great!" It's more in the ilk of what we were listening to.
yeah.
And Ogre, who I never even knew, like came up to me and is like, kind of like, he could kind of see that he is like interested in partaking, and I could hear him kind of like, singing like in the air, like I could hear his tone.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, that's great, man. Why don't you write some lyrics and I'll come back later today and I'll record you. So I did, and that song is K9 off Back and Forth, our first cassette.
Oh,
So
man.
that's how I got here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like I said, history was made, man. Jeez.
Weird, huh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Well,
awesome.
your musical tastes run eclectic for sure, whether making it yourself or losing yourself in someone else's music. What are some of the early, still influenced by mom and dad, Kevin go-tos?
It's funny, my dad used to listen to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir. It's like,
Right
oh my
on.
God. Like I just got nothing out of his musical taste. My mom, though, is really cool, is that she was into like a whole bunch of things, and like she would respond to music. So when I first started making Skinny Puppy, I remember when I brought home the demos for Bites, I put it on and my mom was like dancing. I
Nice.
thought like, okay, my mom was a huge inspiration about like how to continue with
Mhm.
with that whole world. So yeah, no, my mom loved Tom Jones. So, I think one of her biggest disappointments was she went and saw Tom Jones and then found out he was only like 5'2" or something.
Oh
My mom
yeah.
was like, "Oh man, I pictured him to be 5'10". I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah."
He's a little dude.
Yeah. Yeah. He's got
She
that
was
big
shocked.
personality. That,
She was shocked. Yeah.
yeah,
Wow.
that's awesome. Kevin, I've got here that very same album, Bites, that you and Dwayne and Ogre signed way back in 87. And now it has Wilhelm Schroeder's autograph on it as well.
Oh,
I just got to get Tom Ellard in there as well. And
Oh yeah.
yeah. So but yeah, that album means a lot to me. So I'm
It kind of
glad your mom liked it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of means a lot to us too, because of course, the meeting with Tom Ellard, as you mentioned, was again another life-changing moment, because it was the time when you meet somebody where they inspired you to think completely outside of the way you were actually already thinking.
Yeah.
It was like, let's think a little non-conventional. Like the idea is that a snare drum can be, like you yelling into a mic, or, it can be like a box in the corner that we're stepping on. So
Yeah.
it was like, it opened the door to like a world that I think that Bites was kind of like a playground in that sense.
Yeah.
It like was opening doors so radically for all of us.
mm.
Levi, you got one over there, man?
Cool. Keep going.
What is an album, an artist, and your rotation people may be surprised by, Kev?
What's that, Joey? Say it again.
I'm sorry, I talked fast. I had a bunch of Red Bull. What's an album or artist in your rotation people may be surprised by?
Rihanna can probably answer that easier than I, because I have like it it shifts around. Like I'm super inspired by like seeing something from the past now, like going and like for instance, like seeing an old performance of say Hanoi Rocks or
Oh,
something
yes.
something in the what would you say?
What's the dub guy that you listen to all the time? Alpha
The what?
guy?
Alpha Steppa?
Yeah.
Well, I listen, of course, I listen to a lot of dub, and
Yeah.
people would probably think I listen to maybe hard industrial or still listen to that. But typically, I listen to mostly dub and reggae stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah.
I would say that's my go-to.
What's your opinion on Eka Mouse?
I that's not one of my run-tos, but the whole genre. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like I can always remember this time when Ryan Moore gave me some CDs at one point that was basically the entire collection of Scientist and King Tubby.
Oh,
This was like
that's
way
awesome.
back, and then
Yeah.
I had heard of I'd heard of Scientist and King Tubby, but I had never really explored the full catalog. And I must say that again, here we go, it's another life-changing moment.
Yeah.
And then I met Scientist. Believe it or not, Scientist lives here in LA. And so I thought, like, if anybody ever said, well, what's your geekiest moment when it ever came to an artist that you met? I all of a sudden was sitting with Scientist here in my own house. He had been invited over by a friend for a barbecue. And I sat there and I thought, like, okay, hold yourself back. Like, what's the first question that you really have to ask?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, the bass sound, is it direct or is it a mic'd cabinet? Come on, Charles, you must like that question.
Yeah, really.
What do you think? What do you think the answer is?
I'd say it's mic'd.
Nope, direct.
Direct? You
Serious?
run it direct?
Nice.
I was shocked. I thought like,
Oh my God.
for the tonality and everything of that type of dub and the depth of sound and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting is that he kind of pointed out that everyone has this thought, like we always have this vision that in the early 70s when they're making this music, like how could they be doing that in Jamaica? Where would they have the equipment? And then he goes, well, that's kind of an illusion
Yeah.
because they in fact did have really good quality equipment in Kingston at that time. They had AMS delay and reverb, and they were, working on Tubby's console was a really, I can't remember the brand of it now, but it was a really good quality console. And so that's why it sounded so good, is because of their equipment, like their recording equipment. But so that was like a really big geeky moment again, was to get the facts right straight from his mouth about production of that sound.
Oh, yeah. You know King Sunny I did?
Yep.
Yeah, I got to meet him, shake his hand. That was back around the time I first saw you, actually, 1986, Seattle, the Hub Ballroom with Severed Heads. An incredible experience. That show had some technical issues, not least of which was a power outage during Tom's opening set. Speaking as someone who was there and witnessed this firsthand, I would love to know the perspective from the stage, if you wouldn't mind indulging us.
Well, that's funny because that's 1986 with Severed Heads, you were saying, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the last show of our what was a world tour.
The world tour. Dig it. Yeah.
Yeah, 72 shows.
Yeah.
So we toured all the way across Canada, and then we left from there, went to Europe, did our first European tour with Egrum, and then we returned to the East Coast of the United States and did the entire US. And this was at a time, Charles, when we were all traveling in the truck that basically had the gear in it. And what we did is we built a false wall behind the cab where you could go in through that little mouse hole
Yeah.
into the back. We built a false wall and put a couch in there. No heater, nothing, just a couch. And so we had two of these old trucks, and we traveled all the way across Canada and all the way through the US on that tour in these trucks.
Yeah.
Wow.
So not only that, but we were, I'll say, oh God, how do I say it the right way? Well, 86 was a time when there was a lot of drug usage as far as people's free spirits and stuff. But the people were using cocaine pretty freely back in those days and hadn't really learned its dangers or anything yet. So we were being given drugs left, right, and center. But I do remember by that time there was a lot of okay, we're going to have to assume responsibility for where we're at now compared to where we were at the beginning.
Yeah.
When we left at the beginning, everyone was just like, we all had our shirts done up to here, and we're all sitting straight up like this. And by the end, we were like,
Immediately.
Oh my
I'll never
God.
forget it. I'll never forget it. The Severed Heads, we witnessed some things on that with those guys on the tour where I still can't believe that we actually even survived it, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
But
Now,
the show itself, I mean, I remember that it was always on that tour that the shows just kept on building up with intensity.
yeah.
And yeah, what we had a power outage, did you say?
Yeah, well, yeah,
That sounds about.
they ran from my understanding and my memory of it, they had the snake for all the power to the stage coming out the front of the stage and through the crowd to the back wall for some reason with a long ass orange extension cord, if I remember correctly. And having done that, somebody tripped over it and unplugged everything during Tom's set. He's like, I always wanted to be an acoustic act. This is more fun than being raped by a refrigerator. And I'll never forget that. Just I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a nightmare. But everything got hooked back up, and the show was absolutely mind blowing, life changing for
Hmm.
sure. Yeah, that was a hell
They,
of a yeah.
Tom's sense of humor really helped us to make it through that tour. His sense of humor is unparalleled.
Yeah,
I think someone's commenting here about Tom getting in trouble in Yugoslavia at that time, and that was the case. That at that time it was still so early that people in Yugoslavia were actually spitting on severed heads.
Oh no.
To be punk rock though.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so that Tom was like, stop spitting, and I didn't stop spitting, and so Pete Rivett Karnak, who he was on tour with from Single Gun Theory, playing with him,
Yeah.
jumped off the stage and went to go strangle some guy that was spitting on him, and someone came along and grabbed Pete's thumb and pulled it back and broke it.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
So Pete had to go to hospital and get that fixed, and I believe I'm pretty sure that's when he stopped. He had to stop the tour. So
Yeah.
he ran into some problems, and by the end it was just Tom and Stephen Jones, the guy who basically invented the video synthesizer.
Yeah.
I mean, the things that Severed Heads were doing on that tour were so ahead of its time and revolutionary in
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is the tour. I had thought that Bill was actually on part of this tour, but I guess that's not correct. Dwayne was completely taken over by the time this tour started.
Yeah.
And this was also where Doubting Thomas came into being, isn't it? The mind boggles at the creative maelstrom you were all in at that time.
Well,
What are you?
at the time when we started the tour in '86, believe it or not, I had only, which is really weird, is that I met Dwayne and had the idea that Dwayne might be a good candidate to come into the band in July of '86. Now, somehow we finished the tracks that we did for Mine, the Perpetual Intercourse, and somehow that was finished, and somehow all mixed, and the album was in hand by September 1986. So I'm trying to figure out how 2 months later we've got not only, tracks that obviously I'd worked on with Dwayne on Mine. Half of Mine was already done, but when we started the tour, basically, I had only known Dwayne that long, like literally just a couple months.
Yeah.
So when we got back, there was an idea that Toronto was a hotbed at that time for music, more so than Vancouver, and so we were like, well, let's go move there, because this guy Chris Shepard was kind of like the DJ that was responsible, I guess you say, for breaking us in Canada.
Yeah.
And he was like just on fire. He was like, you guys need to get out here. Images in Vogue had moved there, and Gary was saying to me, hey, you should come check out this building. There's a suite next door. Come and rent it. So we went and looked at it, and it was perfect. So it was funny. We moved right next to Images in Vogue, which was very comfortable for me. I've always loved those guys. Always friends. And so we were there, and then that's when we started making Doubting Thomas, and we started writing the demos for what would have been, all of our next albums after that.
Yeah.
But that apartment was amazing, because of having musicians on one side, and then we had a musician on the other side too.
Yeah.
That you knew you could make as much noise as you want, and you knew you were never going to get a noise complaint. So it was pretty amazing, because at that time, we've been familiar with certain forms of music, but when we ourselves started making a type of music that was Doubting Thomas, we knew it wasn't
Mm.
It wasn't suitable for Skinny Puppy. We knew it was something that was more, we didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
So we just kept on adding these songs to a tape that we just named. I don't know how we named it Doubting Thomas, but we just named it Doubting Thomas and throw these songs on there. And it's funny, if you do that, after a while you'll have an album's worth of stuff after
Yeah.
after a while, if you keep on working on music. Charles, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So pretty soon, um, there was a guy. I remember his name was Dr. Death, and he was down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, or something like that. He had a record label, and he was encouraging me to release Doubting Thomas. So when it came time to actually make it, I said, "Okay, I think we're ready." He says, "Oh, I don't have the money to make an album," and so Bill Lieb said to me, "Well, just call up Jim at Wax Trax."
Yeah.
So I called up Jim, and he said, "Oh, I'm fully into it." Yeah, and
Yeah.
so that's how we got linked with Wax Trax, and then that's how it got made. And the support was always there from those guys. I think Jim even did the cover of the
Yeah.
album.
Wow.
So
Yeah. That's
That's
amazing.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So
Um,
what's Nico Face?
Nickel
Get the
Face,
T-shirt.
yeah, Nickel Face is a project that was started to score the Silent Hill game. Well, I guess you might want to call it more of a series, because it was called a live action game slash series.
Mhm.
But actually, if you at the end of it, they compiled it all. So it's made in AI. It's made what do you want to call it? Digital animation.
Mhm.
And so the the amazing thing is that Stefan from GenVid came and hit me up about a year and a half earlier and talked to me about the idea. And he said, "You can't tell anybody about this." And I had to sign an NDA and everything. And
Yeah.
he proposed an idea that I thought, like, wow, this is a dream come true. Because he not only had a great job, but it has had an amazing schedule and, above all, an amazing budget. So it even allowed me to say, well, look, I don't think I can do all this by myself, especially when it comes to when these guys say, oh, they need an extra part put in, or they need I want drums in this, or I want something different than what we've already turned in. I knew that there could be a lot of rework on stuff that they might need. So I hired a guy specifically that had been taking part in the Subcon remixes. His name is Eric Peterson in Quantum. And I had noticed all along that his work for the Subcon remix was always great,
Yeah.
always impressive. And then when I started communicating with him, I learned that I sent him an idea once, and he sent me back like 6 or 10 versions of it, all within one day. Within one day, I thought, like, wow, this guy's on it. So I thought to myself, when I first got offered the job, I thought, like, maybe if I talk to Eric about going in and making a partnership, I'll hire him as the manager, and then he'll have the responsibility of talking to them, whatever they need, and blah blah blah, and I'll just sit with him and I'll make the music with him, and then we'll turn it in according to the script. So that made it a little easier, and so that's how Nako Face came about. It was something we didn't want to say, oh, it's scored by Kevin Key and Eric Peterson. We wanted to have, because we knew it's for Konami, we wanted to have something that would be sort of possibly attractive to gamers and that the community of anime and so on like that. So hence the Neko, which means cat face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
You
pretty
know,
awesome.
that's my friend Katie Hensel, who you met at the show in out here. She wants to know what do you find, what do you find about the 40 years with Skinny Puppy? What do you miss the most and what you don't miss?
Good question. Well, it's a long time if you think
Yeah.
about it. It's so long that went through so much.
Yeah.
And in reality, there's such good high points from it, but then there's also some really, 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 really low points. So I think, like, at a very, very early on, I've always enjoyed the making of the album, seeing it come together, and seeing like a tour come together. Of course, we never knew what the show was going to be, and we would all gather our own components and come together, and then we'd see what the show is.
Yeah.
Always be blown away with, wow, this is like crazy, this, and that was always an impetus to make it like, think like, this will never get old. I don't think this will ever get old.
Yeah.
So the good thing was being creative and developing something that we felt was always like it was exactly what we wanted to do, and we always felt like we were never veering off course from our original intention.
Yeah.
And so that was good. But unfortunately, how it goes with many bands, is that the touring and the years together and stuff like that can lead to things that happen that I don't even know what the reason for it is, to be quite honest, because there's a lot of unfortunates that I won't go into, but the end result was I ended up feeling like not like I felt as depressed about many things as I felt happy about many things.
Mm-hmm.
I could walk away saying, well, that was fucking amazing and that was great, whatever, but that sucks that this happened, or that this would go down, or this would be this way. It just, there was an up part and a down part, but I think that's life in general, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Little
like,
bit.
Yeah.
it was good seeing you. It was good seeing both you guys. I mean, that's just the way I like to see it,
The thing I really have to say though is the members of the crew that we typically work with, like our management, and especially this most recent tour that we did, the people working on the cruise are always something that I end up missing them like family. That's always really a special bonding time with everyone really. That helps make the production come alive.
Yeah. When was the last time you talked to Dre?
To who?
Dre.
Oh God, Dre and I talk like every day.
Tell him I said hi.
Dre's undoubtedly, Dre and Scully, which is really funny, is my two techs over time, are undoubtedly my two closest friends in my life, other than Gary Smith from Images in Vogue and the other guys in Images in Vogue. But Dre and Scully have always been there for me. They've always had my back, and I'll always have theirs. There's just some delightful thing about when you have like that amazing connection with your guy. It's like, it's almost like, it's not just me going up there on the stage, it's me and Dre. He helps it happen. He sees that it's not breaking, and we hold it together, the ship together, and that's a beautiful feeling.
You gotta miss that.
We played Mechanismus last year, and with my friend Severina, and I was being facetious while he was up doing his sound check, and I was like, so isn't Kevin going to be here to be your tech? And he was like, I think Kevin's busy, man.
If I was there, I would love to be Dre's tech.
Yeah,
I talked to Randall Fraser. Randall Fraser, when you introduced me to him, he's been really, we kept in touch, and he's helped me put together my laptop and everything. And he's with the what's the name of the band?
Legendary Pink Dots.
Yeah. Legendary Pink Dots. And I just heard the album, and I saw his credits.
How's about Orbit Service, the band he comes from?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wow.
So we're talking about Randall Fraser. I think the guy is another absolute stand-up, wonderful person. And
he is.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that he helped you out with your setup and stuff. He, is a Denver native, and now he's moved to Italy.
Yeah.
And so lucky him, and him and his family.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest things here, I hope this works, is that hopefully I can show this here.
Yeah.
Is that this is Randall here.
Yeah.
This picture. That's Trey there.
Yeah.
This is Edwin and I, and this is we just finished a new album, and this is the members of the current Tear Garden lineup. So we're talking about these two individuals just now, Randall and Dre, and
Yeah.
I couldn't be happier working with people that are just as like connected to the soul as we all are. And of
Yeah.
course, you know, my 40 plus year relationship with Edward has been
Yep.
nothing short of just
uh,
magical the entire time. I will say with my relationship with Edward, there is no downside to my relationship with him. It's just
Yeah.
that's cool.
always pure
I,
up.
I don't think it's possible for Edward to have a downside, honestly. I met him in 87 in Seattle, opening for you in his solo project. And I got caught bootlegging a show, and he was sitting right in front of me and asked me to come to Portland and do photos the next couple of days later. And that's where I met you for the first time. You were so fucking generous to this 18-year-old weirdo that was on your stage for some weird reason. And yeah,
87, let me think about that.
yeah,
So that would have been the year that he opened as a solo act.
yes,
And
yes.
he had to stand in front of the Skinny Puppy audience,
Mm-hmm.
which at that time was, they were the type of audience that the opening
They
act
were a
really
little,
always had a hard time.
yeah, yeah,
Think about one guy barefoot on stage with a keyboard.
yeah.
He was so brave to take on that tour.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I had I had heard him with Eyes, China Doll, and one of the other Eyes things. I had found them. I was working at a record store, and these somebody came in and dropped off these two import records, and I loved the cover work. And I grabbed them, and I fell in love with it immediately. And I thought, this guy's from Holland. I will never see this guy perform live. And then one of my favorite bands of all time has him opening. I got there, and then I met him, and then it brought me to you. Actually, Steve Montgomery, your old tour manager back in the day, taught me how to roll a joint. You know, and so and yeah,
So
so
he was trouble, I will say, Steve.
yeah, yeah,
He was
yeah,
trouble. Yeah.
yeah. But that was, I think, the first time I got to be with people that I admired, because my friend Roger brought me Bites, I think it was, and the first time I had heard you. And as soon as the music came on, I went, this is home. This this is this is my kind of music. This is something for me. And I hadn't really had that visceral of an impact from something before. So it was very cool. And when I got to see you guys on stage in 86 and then be on stage with you in 87, I was just blown away. But at backstage, I asked you, I'm like, how did you go from, because I was managing bands at the time, and all I knew was you did the bar circuit and then you did the stage circuit. And I couldn't reconcile you guys having that stage show at a bar. And you were like, oh, no, 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 no. It's like rec centers and like warehouses and stuff. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, so,
Yeah.
but thank you
Luckily,
so
we
much.
Skinny Puppy, like I still can't quite understand it because like our first shows were in fairly big size theaters, like
Yeah,
600 capacity or 500. I mean, sure, the first show we did was in an old art gallery we broke into.
yeah, yeah,
And then there was 300 people in this place. I was like, where are all these
yeah,
people coming from? So it didn't
Yeah.
seem like we ever had a problem with attendance at the venue, no matter what venue they would choose. And yeah, I think that's probably what we because we were able to skip the bar circuit, the
yeah,
Images of Vogue what had kind of experienced. I knew that we were lucky.
yeah,
But
yeah.
further to what you were saying about Edward and his whole take on everything is that, for myself, I had never, well, actually, I'll never forget the day that I came across an album that was in the record store called the Elephant Table Compilation Album.
Mm,
And it was like something, because we were listening to Throbbing Gristle and everything like that, there was a couple of recognizable names on it, like SPK and Chris and Cozy, but all the other names on the album we didn't know. So I picked it up and I brought it back to the apartment. It's funny, I've always had this funny story that I fell asleep at one point while I was listening to the album. And then I thought like, well, actually, maybe I'm just dreaming all this and I haven't woken up. That was funny. But the actual truth of the matter is that I heard the legendary Pink Dots on that album. And I thought like, this is the most unique thing I think I've ever heard.
yeah,
And so I hunted them out. And at that time, you could only find them on obscure cassettes.
Yeah.
This is around 1981 when they first started. And
Hmm.
actually, no, it was more end of 82. So I inevitably came across this book called The Contact List for Electronic Musicians that was written by Alex Douglas. And it contained in it, I don't even know how he sourced it all. It was lists of people around the world that sold independent cassettes.
Oh,
And
wow.
how he had this book made, I don't know, because I would go through and I'd be like, I'd see the name Legendary Pink Dots. So I'd send a letter off to these people. I'd be like, what cassette do you have? And they'd send me, it would take you a month just to correspond to figure it out.
Yeah.
Inevitably, I started getting sent Pink Dots cassettes. And then all of a sudden, I started getting sent Pink Dots cassettes from friends of the Pink Dots. And then all of a sudden, I started to receive some cassettes from the Pink Dots.
Oh my
And I was
God.
like going like, wait, this is like this
Yeah.
this is like too good to be true. And then that's how, Edward contacted me and said, I'm going to be coming to Canada. Would you do my sound for the shows that I'm going to do? And I said, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's how that whole thing did. But what I want to say is like the first years, like 3 years at least that I was listening to those cassettes and listening to Edward, I thought like this is the most this is my favorite music at that. If someone had said, well, what's your favorite music at that time? Undoubtedly I would have said the Legendary Pink Dots to everyone I met. So I just found it such a blessing to get to meet him
Yeah.
and work with
I
him.
did
And then
too.
and then the first time that I made Center Bullet with him, we went into the studio and he said, oh, I've got some lyrics written for this. It was an instrumental on the Puppy cassette, which is really
Yeah.
weird. And so he had written lyrics, and so we went into the studio, and the first time I ever heard his voice on one of the song that I made, I literally thought, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I ever needed.
Yeah.
And that sort
That's
of
beautiful,
held
man. That's absolutely beautiful.
my whole inspiration from that point forward. So of course we asked Edward after that to do the tour and everything. And of course, many tours actually, and
Yeah.
many albums now. And just as I said, just finished a new album with him.
Oh, I
Just
can't wait.
just today, actually, we're just finished the mastering today.
Oh my God. Oh, right. Is this like exclusive news here?
It's a double album. It's brand new.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 15 songs.
Damn.
Yeah,
Joey,
I'm excited for you guys to hear it. I
think
will
we have a
say,
follow-up to that.
we'll say that there's going to be a video and a single from it released in July.
Oh my God, yes.
Any chance of a tour?
What's that?
Any chance of a tour?
Oh man, if there was ever a chance for a tour, this is the album for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quite honest with you, I'll be honest with you. I set up my drums again downstairs seriously this time, and I've been jamming to 10 of the 15 songs on that album so much that I've got the blisters on my hands again.
Oh,
wow.
oh
Awesome,
man.
I
Awesome.
figure I got to work them back up,
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
No more slacking off.
Well, it doesn't seem like it was that long ago that Skinny Puppy left the stage for the last time. How have you been doing with that?
Yeah, I had mixed feelings all along. The first leg of the tour was quite surprisingly, like everyone really was like on an up. Like when we left that tour, I even told people, wow, this is the best, everyone's got along in
Yeah.
years. I thought like it's gonna, when we came into the second leg of the tour, I thought this is gonna be great. And we came in and I have no idea why, but it just wasn't the same. It had this real dark energy around it. And what I said to myself, I'm just going to do this tour and make it as best as I can with everybody that's on it and enjoy it and not absorb like the darkness, and made it through that one. But I was saddened at the end that there was like it wasn't as jovial ending as the first tour. And it's sad, Ogre and I haven't spoken since we left the stage. That's just how it is now, and that's not what I would hope that would be, but that's the way it is, C'est la vie.
I'm sorry. to
Yeah.
hear that, man.
Yeah. What a drag.
When Skinny Puppy left Network, you guys were presented with the options of signing with Rick Rubin's label American Recordings or Jimmy Iovine and Interscope. What ultimately led to the decision of going with Rubin's label?
That was a big mistake. Of course, in those days, you would think Rick Rubin,
Yeah.
we loved Def Jam. I remember at the beginning, I was always wearing Def Jam shirts, mainly
Yeah,
because
yeah, I
Chris
remember that.
Shepard had an affiliation with Beastie Boys. So it was like, yeah, we're right in with Def Jam. And we hung with Rick Rubin once in New York and went and saw Slayer or something together when he was getting into metal. And he seemed like a really cool dude. And then so when it came time when we left Capitol, by the way, Capitol Records, easily the best years of Skinny Puppy's life. Best label, absolutely loved working with them. And the crew that, was largely responsible for that was, people that went on to Interscope and people that were, Tom Wally and stuff that became very instrumental into some very, big projects, Nine Inch Nails and so on like that. But so the problem was is that we had management at that time that was, they were like the managers that could, tell you, oh, what's good about this, or tell you what's good about this. But they really had a heavy weight too. So they were pushing us to be like, no, you got to go with the biggest offer. You got to go with the label that have the biggest clout. And which I always thought, now that I look back on it, that was just such a stupid thing because, we didn't really know what was going to happen, even though it sounded good. That when we went into American, that we'd actually never been manipulated as much by any label in our history up to that point. What I mean by manipulated was the first thing they said is, well, Dave Ogilvy's not a million selling producer. We don't want you to work with him. We want you to work with somebody like Adrian Sherwood or just a whole list of names came up, and we're like, oh really? Well, what are we going to do? And we thought, well, maybe we'll ask Rave to join the band as a member. Well, Rave took it as a giant insult and just walked away immediately. Said, I'm not going to have anything to do with this. And that sucked because, to be honest with you, what we should have done at that point was to make an album the way we always had, not change it, not change anything about it. We should have made it in the same old studio. We should have made it the same old way. And we should have worked with a label that, whether it be Capitol or whether it would have been Interscope or whoever, I know that we probably could have made something. Well, it would have been a different outcome and different history. I know that, the whole going to Malibu and coming in a house together was, even though everybody was doing it at the time, that was the biggest mistake we could have ever made. It was just, it was a beautiful house, a beautiful area, but a horrendous place for Skinny Puppy to be.
Yeah, Skinny Puppy in Malibu. That just said there's something.
I didn't like Malibu.
And every disaster that could happen happened during the time we were there. I mean, massive. The biggest earthquake that is pretty much in the last 40 years in California history. And that was massive. Then we had mudslides. We had the Malibu fire that burned down half of Malibu.
Yeah.
And just all these things were happening. And then I got in an accident on the Doom Generation where I broke my kneecap and had stitches all over my face. It was like the worst things that happened were all like, hey, make an album at the same time. Oh, by the way, there's these people that keep coming to the house and bringing bad drugs. Bad drugs are infiltrating the house. Wait, is there some Trojan horse coming to the house and dropping all the shit? We thought that for a bit. It was like, it felt like some Trojan horse was coming in and trying to, derail us in some way. But
oh man,
yeah, Malibu. Yeah, that was Malibu.
So it took years for that album to finally be finished, the process, and Dwayne passed away before it was even done.
Yeah.
So Rave and I had to go. Well, actually, we made American apologize to Rave because of this whole thing at the beginning, saying, hey, he wasn't the guy, and suggesting to Rave that we bring in all these other people. And we made them go and apologize to Rave, and that's how we ended up getting back together to finish it.
Yeah.
And then when we finished it, somehow there was this huge falling out between me and Rave that it's just the most stupid thing ever. And we haven't spoken again since in 28 years. So it's basically like, it seemingly will always be unresolved. But it all relates to the process.
The process.
And I realize I say that with a Canadian accent.
The more
We used to
serious
say
note.
that. We used to say that. We used to say when we heard the name, we used to make fun of it. The process.
Yes.
My friend going,
I've never heard anybody say process until I came down to the US, and I was like, what? Process?
the process. It sounds
Oh,
generic.
that's funny. That's funny. So I know you're likely very tired of this question. I've brought
Don't
it up
worry.
myself before. But an eventual reissue of the Back and Forth cassette, the original one, fully authorized and supported by the people who made it. Will this ever happen?
Oh, I doubt that anything like that with Skinny Puppy will ever happen. I don't see any forward progress with anything with Skinny Puppy now at this point until something, some clear water comes our way. It's like it's not like,
Well, here's
say for
hoping.
instance, there's a good point. All of our records that are currently out on Metropolis we're all under license, and all of them right now are expired license, which means they're past the term. We could go and take those records to another label, and that would probably be an amazing idea because, of course, with Metropolis, when you take and you make albums, you have advances build up and you still have an amount owed. Well, at this point, you would walk away with your album and you go license it to another album, another label, and you start all over again.
Yeah.
But even that is something that I just don't see. It's not happening. There's been no discussion on any level with Skinny Puppy as far as like the future on any level. So we just continue along to, try and like I always love like what we've made and what we've done, and I think there's a lot of integrity with the history of it.
Yeah.
So it's encapsulated now, and I think I can look back almost like with dignity and say, well, that was it. I don't know if anything more will come, but it would require some sort of maintenance to get it to be back.
Okay. And
Yeah.
but have you resolved the rights issue with Network yet?
What's weird is that of course the situation with Network has always been not such a good one, but at the same time, there's always a good side to it as well.
Yeah.
So, Network has been more than fair to us, I will say, as far as like over time, especially the last 10 years or 15 years, as at being something that's helped keep us, like help support us as far as like, they have decent sales, they pay their royalties, they're never late, they always stay on it. But the only thing that hasn't been resolved is, the source of like how we fell into that deal was not something that we had agreed to.
Yeah.
Like we signed a deal with Network when we first started out that was what we thought we'd done with our first two albums, which was a licensing deal that these are things that expire. They have 10 years, and then at the end of 10 years, you decide whether or not you're happy and you go somewhere else. Well, they said to us after we started talking about the expiry of the period, which it showed on the first page,
Yeah.
that this is a 10-year deal.
Yeah.
Page 17 said, despite that, everything that you make for us during that 10-year period, we own for perpetuity. We own forever.
Yeah.
And so that's why we've been stuck in this deal that it's something we would never have agreed to, of course. But it was like in the old days of record contracts and stuff, they say that's hidden in the fine print.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah.
And so I don't know anybody in the world that could be in a situation and go, wait, that was not discussed. That's like later told. And so that created a huge amount of animosity between Skinny Puppy and Network for years.
Yeah.
So the worst thing would be is if now Network wasn't being responsible or Network wasn't paying their bills or whatever, and they do. And so I will say kudos to them. The downside is they don't, when they make a re-release, they don't look for our approval. So they go and they'll release it without being mastered properly. I don't even know why they would do that, because these things were originally mastered properly. And then so the re-releases have some, even Stephen Gilmore is saying it looks like that's been photocopied, or
Yeah.
like, and Stephen Gilmore hasn't been spoken to by Network in so many years, and he even designed the logo for them.
Yeah.
So I wish I've even mentioned this to some people in Network that I do speak with, that are very positive, and I propose to them so many times, let's be positive. Let's try and bring us to a place where if you want to better things, let's have communication. How about we better the deal so that like it is more what we asked for in the beginning? How about we do this? And then I got a letter back and they said, this is the greatest thing I've ever listened to or ever heard. I'm going to talk to everybody and hopefully hopefully, this will come down. But so far that hasn't happened.
Okay.
What?
Well, fingers crossed, man.
Oh, my camera went off here. Hang on.
Your camera went off. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Kevin, you're a cancer survivor. I know it was extremely serious, and you documented these procedures you went through with a series of photos and postings. Can you talk about this experience, starting with the initial diagnosis into your recovery?
Yeah, I hope my camera stays
Yeah.
on. I don't know why it's doing this. It does this at time.
Of course.
Well,
Expect the unexpected, right?
hold on. It's I don't know what it's doing here. What's it doing? Hold on. I might have to change cameras here.
No worries.
Okay.
Camera.
I'm going to change camera.
There we go.
I'm back.
Yeah.
So the cancer thing, that was the biggest shock in my life, because not only did I not think that what I had was as serious as what I had, but Rhiannon and I even went to the hospital that morning thinking that we were going to go for lunch after.
Yeah.
And so it really wasn't something that I expected in any way. I think, like, Joey, what are you asking, like how it happened, or?
Just from the start to like into your recovery, like just
Because, like, I went through a period where, well, it's really funny. It started in Japan. My host family on that initial trip took me to the beach, and they didn't tell me to put on any sunscreen or anything, and I didn't realize it was as hot as it was going to be. And I ended up getting third-degree burns from a suntan that day. I was purple when I got back into the room and looked at myself.
Yeah.
So I often question and wonder, well, maybe it could have been from that experience alone that I got basal cell on my face.
Yeah.
But then also after that, I was going to Jamaica a lot. Probably spent like more than 20 times in Jamaica, just getting into it and, getting into the music and stuff. Obviously getting sunburnt many times from riding like a scooter around the island and shit. And so later, when you get this little mark on your nose, and then I went in and I thought, like, this is not a regular mark. It keeps on going away, coming back, going away, coming back. Went in, got originally diagnosed. They said, no, this is nothing. Kept on doing it. Then I said, I did it. I went in again. They said, yeah, this is basal cell cancer. We're going to remove it. So the first surgery was in 2001, just before the Ogre tour. And I went in, and it was like, it was 3 rounds of a surgery where they kept on going in, and it felt like they were going deeper and deeper, and where they were deeper and deeper and deeper. And they kept saying, no, you need to come back. You need to come back. They're still there. It's still there. And then in the end, basically, I had this giant scar on my nose for years as a result of that surgery, which was hopefully it. But apparently it wasn't it. They didn't get it all. And then some years later, what happened is that where they were so down inside there, that basal cell cancer was happening on the inside of me.
Oh, wow.
So I got this, I still have the scar, but I got this lump in my face, and I was like, what is this lump? And Rihanna's mom is a nurse, and she looked at it and she goes, oh, that's just an abscess or something to that effect. But I said, oh, I'm going to go get it checked.
Yeah.
Went and got it checked, and they said, no, this is a basal cell. And I'm like, that's weird. How can this be a basal cell? They said, well, we're going to schedule you for the Mohs surgery, which is a microscopic, more advanced surgery than the last one.
Yeah.
And I went in, and again, the guy kept on, taking some out, and then he'd go to the lab, and he'd come back, and 4 hours of this. More and more and more coming off each time. On round 3, the nurse, all of a sudden, I hear assimilate. And I'm going, wait, I think I hear my music. And they go, yeah, we just wanted to hear what your music sounded like. And I'm like, during the surgery, while I'm like,
Oh my God.
smelling burned flesh.
Oh my God. How
I know.
surreal.
And then so it goes
Jesus.
from assimilate and it goes into tormentor.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm thinking, like, this is the most weirdest thing in the world, because some of some of the lyrics in Tormentor are like, his face ripped apart, you know, all this,
Yeah.
like, you know, that line. And I'm like,
Yeah,
this is just so surreal. And then it went on to the third song, which strangely, it was Bark, that
Oh,
song. And they got halfway into that where Ogre started, you know, doing the "Rah!" part.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, they stopped it. And I was like, this
Oh
is
my
crazy.
God.
So, you know, I got up with a big, you know, bandage wrapping on my face, and they said, okay, now you're going to go across the street to surgery, which had been waiting for me for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Got there, and I was in about a 6.5 hour surgery. Came out, and I mean, you've seen what I looked like. I mean,
Yeah.
as I always said that morning, Slipknot had nothing on me.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
And I was kind of laughing about it too, because it was so insane. Like
Yeah.
literally the first day that we went out, we went to a store to go get some medicine, and I was walking with Rihanna, and I got out of the car, and there was a little kid and her mom. I'm not kidding, more than half a block away, it seemed. And I was walking along, and the kid turned around, and the mother didn't. The kid saw me, and the kid, you could see, looked at me and thought, "It's Frankenstein,"
Right.
and was literally like, "Oh!" And as we got closer, the kid kept turning around and looking like, "Oh my God, the monster's coming! The monster's coming!" And you know, I passed, and you could kind of tell that the mother was saying, What's wrong, honey? What's wrong? There's nothing wrong." Like, she never saw me. She
Yeah.
never looked at me. So
That
to
kid
this
probably
day,
went, "What the fuck?"
to this
Oh
day,
my
that
God.
kid is probably saying, "Mom, I saw Frankenstein." She's like, "No, you did." So,
Oh my God.
Boris
So-
Karloff.
Oh,
I realized
oh
after
my God.
that it was more easier for me to take like a napkin or a handkerchief and stuff it in my hat and have it come down over my nose and my face than to
Yeah.
walk around with that with where I had like, you know, 150 stitches going down my
Yeah.
face with this,
Yeah.
my forehead turned around on my upper brow because it was
Yeah.
keeping my face graft alive.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
I
an
know
experience.
we were all on holding our breath for you
Yeah.
through that. It was
You know,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
surprised I turned out like as as okay as I am. Like some people say,
you're a very pretty man.
yeah,
Yeah.
You know?
you look okay. You know, I mean,
Looking good.
it could have been so much worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking real good. Looking good.
Thank you, Charles. Thank you.
Yes, definitely.
So
Mhm.
a really cool thing though did come out of that, and that's your totem.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Hazel. First run.
Hazel. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you know,
We've got some. You know, with
at
Rihanna
that beauty.
did the hair.
Look at
and,
that beauty.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I will say that that's the best. Oh wow, you got a few, Joe.
Yes, I do. Joey does too. Joey's got a massive amount of
Oh,
them.
yeah, I've got a ton.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Danny's got a lot of them. Danny's
Yeah.
got 3.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the support to everybody on
Yeah,
that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It's really is cool. You're right. When something good comes out of something bad like that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you got Boris too.
We got the Boris too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would never have happened, you know, if it wasn't for, you know, like not going out and being like, you know, having to heal and
Yeah.
realizing like they had me on Norcos, quite a few actually while I was in
Yeah.
initial healing. I think
Yeah.
was it like 4 or 6 per day?
Yeah.
Quite a few.
Wow.
So I was so kind of out of it, you know, that I don't know why it was. It was probably because my friend Paul Kaiju had always told me about it when he had made toys. He kind of gave me a brief rundown on how to go about it, what to do. You know, take tinfoil, put clay around tinfoil, then basically make your figure from there, stick it all together, make sure it's all works and everything. So I don't know how I got that in my mind, but I started thinking like, you know, that's what I'm going to do. And then I got to the point when, you know, when I spent like 12 hours one night making an arm. I felt like it's not even really that, you know,
Yeah.
that complicated. But I spent 12 hours. I looked at the clock. It was like 5 a.m. I was like still working on this arm.
Yeah.
Wow, this is really, you know, I really, really, really got into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a blessing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
Yeah.
sending me the kind of paint I'm going to need, and your blessing to do some work on one of the Boris's. I'm I'm looking forward to showing you something once I've got that taken.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So-
So I also think, yeah, painting them and bringing a personality to them was something that I didn't know how to do either. And
Yeah,
my friend Paul taught me how to do that as well, which I was very grateful for. And
yeah,
um, as I say, I would never have expected to be making toys, especially, making them in the old traditional Japanese
yeah.
way, where they're made in
Mhm.
Japan in like, the really old way. It's not made on a modern machine. They're like
Mm.
all made by
Right.
hand by a guy in a factory, like that is a real factory. It's like
Yeah.
one piece of that arm, boop, one piece at a time. So
Yeah.
it just blew me away that this could even be possible.
How
Wow.
sore are Rihanna's hands after doing a hairstyle on a basil or a basil?
How cool, what?
How sore are Rihanna's hands after doing the hair?
Rihanna, how sore are your hands after doing the hair on a basil?
It hurts.
It hurts. He says it.
I bet you
So
do an
she's
amazing job, Rihanna. Thank
she's
you
really
so
good at
much.
it. Now
Yeah, these
we
things are
got
so beautiful. Yeah,
we got trained,
Mhm.
and she was the one that basically took to it, and there is a technique to it, and
yeah,
she definitely got it down.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They're
Danny likes
absolutely
Danny
amazing.
likes Rihanna's hair thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it definitely adds a certain personality to it. I just
Mhm.
we love making them, and the
Yeah,
thing
Yeah.
is, they're not so easy for us to even get ourselves anymore. Like to get them and to get them over here requires, like, it seems months
hmm
of waiting and asking, and got to wait in line for a
yeah,
time to come open for them to do it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is
That's good.
the new situation with our trade going to
Tariffs.
slow this down?
Well, it seems like it might, but like hopefully hopefully that won't really happen, as we're hearing all these words like it's going to happen, it's not going to happen. But
Yeah,
you know,
Mhm.
up till now, Japan has only had, luckily, I think, a 10%. So
hmm
I mean, yeah, that puts it up. That will put it up a bit, but
yeah,
I only run them in small batches anyway. It's like 15 or 20 at a
yeah,
Yeah.
time, and then so they're pretty costly to make.
yeah,
I'm going to say that it will add like about $10 to each for me for
yeah.
my cost, but I don't
Yeah.
see how that's not that much.
Okay, all right.
$10 on each one they would add, yeah.
Yeah, because I
Everyone
absolutely love
knows
doing
how
it.
much you love animals, Kevin, especially cats. I've had them in my life as a constant presence since childhood, like yourself. I know the loss of Fisherman was absolutely devastating for you, and I get that. I think Music for Cats is the album is such a beautiful gift an owner could give a feline companion. With
Mhm.
Stanley and Tiger Lily now in your life, is this a project you consider revisiting?
Music for cats?
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I will say that when we got Stanley, I realized that my whole life, I've always, in my grown life pretty much, well, ever since that I can remember, my mom we used to raise show cats
oh wow,
and Siamese show cats. So
yeah, yeah,
I was kept in the same area where those cats were. And I didn't realize what a close bond I had with them. So that I realize now that unless I have a big white male Siamese like
Uh,
running my day, that
yeah,
it's like there's something missing.
yeah,
There's just something about the dominance of their personality and
Mhm.
their something about their presence, and they can be like, above and beyond like what you could expect.
yeah,
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, fishermen, like, really, just like Stanley, I don't know what it is. Cats just seem to be getting smarter and smarter and smarter over time. Like they just seem to be like so. Uh-oh, I sense one's coming. They're just like,
oh, sweetie, sweetie.
Oh.
they're just part of your life, and they're like this thing that do you
Oh,
see the guys? Yeah.
hi there, sweetie.
So,
Hey.
music for cats was something I had to do. And it
Yeah,
wasn't something that I actually thought like it, this initially I thought like, well, maybe this isn't specifically for feline cats, but more like cats, like cool
Cats.
guys. Right? But the funniest thing is that
Meow.
that album, The Music for Cats, if you were to ask me out of all the albums that I've ever made, what album do I think on vinyl sounds the best when it plays? And that answer would be Music for Cats.
It is
I just
lovely on vinyl.
absolutely love how that sounds on vinyl.
Yeah, I do too.
There's just, I don't even know how vinyl works, like how a thing vibrating on a piece of thing can make that happen. But, you know, I'm saying to myself, wait, okay, that might be a rendition of your recording. Really? Is it? Or is it just the vibration of some weird thing on an alien device that's creating this whole new thing every time I listen to it? I don't know. I start to
Yeah.
It's alchemy and dark magic, man.
Alchemy full on.
Yes.
So the alchemy is strongest and deepest on Music for Cats. There's no doubt. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome. So
you know, I think it might be time for a music for dogs because I really love
you do,
Honey,
yes.
my dog and Booty.
Will people be able to hear it though?
I don't know. Yeah. I'll have to discover what that might be.
That'd be a great release though. There's probably a low production value.
You gotta do music for dogs, yeah. Some people say you already done music for dogs, you know, Skinny Puppy. I'd be like, oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Is
awesome.
anything
I
else?
can understand. Like that friend of mine told me, he says, you got to hear this group, man. They're called Skinny Puppy. And I was like, what the hell?
Because that was the original concept that we first discussed. I remember with Ogre we were talking, well, what's the concept you think? I was like, I see it as life as seen through a dog's eyes. Like, you know, when you step on the dog's tail and he goes, wow, that's like, you know, that's what I felt like our first material was. It's like kind of like, you know,
a tail stepping.
Yeah, tail stepping.
Well, geez. Yeah.
So, is there anything else you'd like to promote or any questions you'd like to ask us?
Well, I like that you guys are on the industrial amputation. You guys are like you've stuck with it, and the trio of you does a great job. And I always said to you, Joey, I think I want to help you. I want to help to promote you guys because, you know, if we work together, I mean, obviously, I was at a point recently where I was talking and interviewing a lot of people, like guests, in the sense of people I didn't really know. And now I feel more comfortable, more like talking about equipment or people that are involved with like the remixing or, you know, looking back on obscure videos that we might have or something like that. Because I think I've almost run out of people that I know. And I'm getting into that. You know, I've talked to Charles, I've talked to everybody. I swear, everybody I know. So it's like now when I get into the realm of like people I don't know, that's when it becomes more difficult. So I felt like I just like handed over to you guys. You guys got the trio to take care of business now, and I got to promote you guys to you know, make sure that's the way it goes. I mean, you guys had Klaus Larson, and you guys had Martin Bose, and I thought about speaking with both of those guys. But you guys did a fabulous job with both of those guys. I almost feel like it might just be a repeat performance for me to go do that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, man. That means the world. It really does. Kevin, thank you so much for all that you do, for the scene, for the people in it. It's been an absolute honor to do this with you today, honestly.
That'll make Danny really proud. Danny puts a lot in. Danny does a lot. She puts a lot into
absolutely.
And she does.
I'm proud to say that you're a tangible part of more than one of my life's milestones. Sincerely, thank you.
Oh, guys, thank you so much. And I like to support you in any which way I can. And I think the guys on Patreon here, if they don't know about your show, then check them out on YouTube. I posted the link on the chat thing here, and you can go check them out. And you guys are working. What are you up? 50 chats or 40 chats by now?
We're beyond 50 now.
50, yeah?
58. Yeah, we're rolling up on 60. So,
what do you guys think about Billy Corgan's one?
Oh, I like that. I was going to mention that.
Do you know Billy Corgan? Because he's from Chicago. Yeah.
I know Billy.
Yeah, so it seems like a lot of people are getting the idea that it's interesting for musicians and people to talk about
Yeah.
music, and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, it
not
was
everybody
interesting.
covers every base, right? So
Right.
you guys are covering the base of
Yeah. It's artists
industrial
supporting
world.
artists, man. That's
I was
what it's
just
about.
watching.
Yeah.
I was just watching his interview with
Al.
what's her name? Pat Benatar.
Oh, she did. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay. I'll
he
have to
did
check
Pat
that out.
Benatar and her husband.
Yep.
And as a kid, when I saw Pat Benatar, I always thought the drummer was awesome and the guitar player. And the
Absolutely.
guitar player
Yeah.
is phenomenal.
I used to drum to Pat Benatar records in my bedroom when I was a kid.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Yes. So yeah, so I watched that interview, and I think I think he's doing a good job. He
on.
has a lot of access and a
Yeah.
lot of you know, fortunates of having, a set, but he's I think it's really cool that he's, because as when we were younger, Billy would, get into different um situations where he said to the things he said to someone was pretty intense.
Yeah.
Someone was, so I always kind of thought he was cool, about that. He never gave me any drama or anything. Matter of fact, all we did was talk about some obscure hit songs and music,
Yeah.
So, we,
Well, it
I,
seems it was kind of funny when he was talking with Al Jorgensen
Mm-hmm.
about
yeah,
being at the Metro. He kind of described it as I was there high on LSD trying to pick up goth girls.
yeah, yeah.
I guess we've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah, really.
Oh
I
my
didn't
God.
know. Yeah, that was a good interview,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't seem to be subtle,
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't think that would have happened a while back, but it
Yeah.
was good seeing that,
But Chicago is such a vibrant city that all you guys, you guys have such a backstory, and there'll always be interest in that whole world about
Mm-hmm.
how the
Yeah.
whole scene came together and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
big up Chicago, big up to you guys, big up to Joey Galvan.
Mhm.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much,
Good
man.
luck, Kevin. Thank you.
Well, kiddos, we've reached the end of the episode. We'd like to thank Kevin for this wonderful opportunity. Truly, it is all about artists supporting artists. We dedicated this episode to Jason Lupo and his surviving family. He is surely one great big grinning smile
Oh yeah, for
in
sure.
today.
Yeah.
This timeline can certainly be trying for all of us with hearts and empathy. It may feel like throwing in the towel sometimes, but please don't. That's not the only way to survive. We've got to stick this out. We've got to double down in the face of adversity. We stick to our guns, so to speak. Keep warmth, grace, and kindness in your hearts and on your sleeves when it gets cold and cruel. Look out for each other and yourselves, friends. If you're hurting, please say something. And if you see someone in pain, please don't do more harm. If you can't help, at least don't do more harm. Don't forget you are worthy, you are loved, and you are seen. Love hugs and belly rubs, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Catch you
Kevin.
on the rebound.
Indeed.
Okay. Tell Brianna to say hi.
Bye. Hi and bye.
Hi, bye.